Okay, we are back for another half hour of Gut Check Project. It's me, Eric Rieger. I'm joined here with your host, Dr. Kenneth Brown.
This is awesome. So this next half hour is going to be hilarious because we're going to get into chef stories. But more importantly, I want to make sure we're doing a good job. We have our interim producer, Marie Rieger. How we doing?
Hey, guys, you sound awesome. Good job.
All right, we have also our guest here, Chef
I would like to add, Chef Patrick, when you speak to Eric, make sure you speak into the microphone.
Oh, so we want to go like this. So make sure I keep. Okay, so there's kind of something I have to tell everybody about.
She's got instructions already.
Wow, so she's been a producer for all of about 1 hour.
She's got it down.
She's
so
Chef Patrick, you need to start doing this. Eric, I want you to stand up tighter, and I want to.
We have this thing, guys have this thing. I have to always tell people that come in the studio, keep the microphone close. And everybody looks at me with disdain. I'm like, look, I know guys have this phobia about putting something phallic looking right up to your mouth, but just do it if you want to have a good show. Smile and wave, you'll be okay.
Smile and wave. How's he sounding now, Marie?
Better?
Much better, yes.
Nice.
All right.
Well, we left off this last half hour basically talking about your journey on how to become a chef and where you've been. And we learned that he spoke Japanese and German and a little bit of Spanish. And if he
traveled and at the age of 5 was able to close a cow colon.
Yeah.
Tie it off.
Your colon closer.
5.
Hey,
he was
man.
climbing up the. Oh my goodness, that's like
It would have been awesome if they made you actually.
Everything about that last half hour makes me just feel bad about myself.
Why didn't you bring your homework for kindergarten? Oh, I was tying off cow anus.
It would have been awesome if they made me climb the cow instead of a ladder, though. With a knife in your hand and the rope around your neck. And like,
Well, tell us a little bit more about your journey now that we're joining here in the next, or starting the next half hour. You have moved into not just chef work, but you've also been exploring CBD. So I know you've got a story behind it. What in the world brought a chef who's now on a digital radio station to explore CBD?
Well, Jeff Spicoli was my hero back in high school. No,
Right.
not really. No. So, but because my mother died in a diabetic coma, you heard my father passed of pancreatic cancer, and my mom died in 2001. And about that time, I'd actually heard about they discovered CBD, and that was mid-'80s, I think, when they discovered it. But they were really starting to realize that, they'd made the big push. Medical cannabis was now legal in California. They were working on Colorado. And so I was just fascinated by how that worked in the body. I don't like the psychotropic effects of chemical
THC,
substances, and THC in specific, because, as a chef, I always want to feel like I'm in control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that personality thing. But so I really I never really partook in it. But when I found out about the CBDs and how they affect the body, I became fascinated. And so I just I got involved in a business that was related to that, and now I'm actually a partner in a medical cannabis related business and tech company in Massachusetts. So,
Nice.
But we do a lot of really high CBD, extremely low THC strains and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So my experience and the reason why I'm so into CBD is that, I kind of had a hero's journey where I saw some incredible effects. Did you have anything like that happen?
Yeah. So, and I think I brushed over that a little bit with my children, but so my son and daughter I have a 20-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter. And when my son was 12, he kept having these ankle injuries playing soccer, and he was trying to get into the Olympic development pool and kind of grow that way. Anyway, so about the third time we took him in for an ankle sprain in like 6 months, we took him to a specialist, a podiatrist, and she goes, wow, he has really long, high arches and his ankles are kind of rolled out. Do you think he has CMT? And we're like, CMT? I don't know what CMT is. But so Charcot-Marie-Tooth syndrome causes a degradation of the neural pathways in the extremities. It causes a type of neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And what happens with that, then the small muscles start to weaken, the bone structure starts to deform. So a lot of children or adults with CMT will have like limp wrist, where the wrist turns in and down a little bit.
It's extremely painful.
Yeah, it can be. Well, actually, it can be painful, but in this case, you actually start to lose sensation. So my son at 12 was about between 17 and 18% deficient in the pass-through of the impulse from elbow to fingertip and knee to toe.
Okay.
So after testing, they're like, well, there's not really much you can do. Just keep him strong. They put him on physical therapy. There's no treatment for it. It's genetic. So over time, my daughter started getting injuries, and my son went off to A&M, Texas A&M at 18, and as he was like 18 in a week, I think when his birthday just occurred. He starts school, and he was a competitive tennis player. So I know you have tennis players in the family, and or one of you do.
Yeah,
Okay,
man,
yeah.
we're the tennis family. They're the basketball family.
That's right. Yeah, state championships, just yeah. Anyway, he was having ankle injuries there, so. When he came out of that program, the only thing I'd done thousands of hours of research looking for anything that could help them. And the only treatment they say is stay strong, be active, don't get fat. That's the 3 ways that you treat yourself, because there's nothing else that they've known to cause any, actually to delay the effects of it if it is going to progress further, than staying strong and healthy. And so he was very active, but I found this article about CBD is actually on that a website that I shared with you called echoconnection.org. And I did some reading. I called some friends. I talked to a guy, another doctor, physician in California. Anyway, so I ordered him. I said, look, you take this twice a day and let's see what happens. And not only did his focus on his schoolwork go way up and his grades started to get better, 6 months, less than 6 months later, we took him to the Texas A&M. They have a research facility where they do studies on neck, back, and spine injuries, but they also do some neural testing and things like neurological testing. So first they did not look for the genetic marker on that one. We know he has it. So, but what they did do is they did a more comprehensive testing on the neural pathways than he had originally the first 2 times, and it was back to 100%. So
now before he was down, you said 17, 18%?
Yeah, but he was probably down about 25% by the time we took him. By the time he went in this time to be tested. So I'm going to kick that over and break something. So I'll hold it up here.
Marie's also going to scold you for.
I know, I did.
Get away from the microphone.
Backing away from your microphone.
You know, here I'm going to be a rock star. I'll sit back. I'll play Doc Thompson today. Just kind of. This is my studio.
So to recap, though, your son, the biggest change that he made, though, was simply just adding the CBD.
That was the only change he made. The only change that was made in his diet. You know, I was very, very. He's a very clean eater. He actually started cooking his own food. He was off his meal ticket at school, and he was on a very enthusiastic weight training program that he designed himself. And so, but that was the only thing that changed in his diet and exercise regimen at all.
I mean, when we look at this, if you realize that Charcot-Marie-Tooth syndrome affects the nerves, and we know that CBD, or the endocannabinoid system, is deeply rooted in the nerves, then when you start decreasing that inflammatory process. And what I love is that you just said the key here is he changed his diet. We know that food can be just like medicine, and it can actually help out. So here we have a college student that's on CBD and eating his own food, not eating on the diet plan. That's amazing.
And and at home, he was a very clean eater as well. He's like the one person in the family that doesn't like desserts. He won't eat cookies. He doesn't like anything with frosting on it. Very low sugar intake, refined sugar. Liked fruit, but didn't live on it.
Does he have gluten issues?
None that I'm aware of. You know, I would like to ask you a question. He has his hands and feet are always cold, but he does have hair, so I know the follicles can't really. They can't, you can't grow hair without any. I thought it might be circulatory, but I don't know. That's something.
It certainly still can, because there's something called Raynaud's syndrome.
I know.
Yeah, where if you get a little cold, then you're it's an autoimmune. It's a component of autoimmune disease where your arteries sort of clamp down, and it's almost a warning sign for autoimmune diseases.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Oh,
we'll bring in some more. Yeah,
and people all over the place have Raynaud's syndrome.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. Yeah.
I mean, you say it just kind of matter of fact that all of a sudden, he had 100% improvement there. And, it's one of those things where people hear these stories and you feel like you're being sold something, but you say it very genuinely. It's like, well, look, this thing made a difference in his life. And that's why people are so passionate about CBD.
No, absolutely. And look, I have nothing to gain by telling the story. I don't, not financially.
Sure.
I'm not. Our production facility isn't even open yet. We're still in the middle of building it. And our tech company's about $14 million away from making money. So if you want to join in and invest in the future of the industry, go ahead. But yeah, I just tell my story to share with people.
So what did you do whenever he told you how he felt and you knew that it was a real difference. It wasn't just subjective. It was an objective improvement for him. You mentioned his grades. You mentioned his mood, his energy, etc. So those are things as a parent I know that you would be able to easily perceive. What did you want to do with that information right off the bat, and how did people receive it when you shared it?
Well, immediately I started taking the product and I started giving it to my daughter.
Okay.
All right. And so, because I wanted to know what the effects were. And I'll be honest with you, for someone who is so well versed in the industry, I don't take it on a regular basis. I don't know why. I have this. It's just it just falls off the plate, so to speak, when I look at my daily supplementation. But so I put my daughter on it right away, and then I went to a meeting with some people that were interested in CBDs. There was a conference going on, and I spoke. I just told my son's story. I told my son's story from my perspective. And then, I have been an advocate ever since.
Wow. What'd you see?
And we all have kids, and
Yeah.
seeing your kids suffer from anything,
Well, there's no way I can't. That's got to be the greatest loss for anyone ever, is to lose a child. But even when they're ill, or they don't feel well, they can't tell you why they don't feel well. It is heartbreaking, especially when you know they're in pain. My son was having constant ankle injuries, and it was painful to watch. He would just recover. I remember he was a pretty competitive tennis player. He played at a private club in the Woodlands. He was in a tournament and rolled his ankle. Had to take 9 weeks off. Physical therapy 4 days a week. The first match he plays doubles with a player he's never played with. They paired him with an adult player, and he goes out and second strike on the ball, rolls his ankle again. Yeah, it was really sad. Just couldn't maintain. Terrible. But he'll never. But that's the thing. CBDs are great at repairing the pathway. You can't ever reshape the structure of the feet. You can, but that surgery is really risky.
Sure.
So,
which shows that as a chef, we were talking about this kind of on break about using CBD in cooking and these things. Have you been doing any of that?
I have. So actually, I do a cooking show, a cannabis cooking show for Purple Haze Radio, which is actually Leon. You guys didn't know this either. This is Leon Hendricks. This is Jimi Hendrix' younger brother. He owns a company called Purple Haze Radio and another one called Purple Haze Property in California. And they're on the Dash Radio platform, which Spoonie airs on as well. Anyway, they asked me to do a cannabis cooking show. When I started doing that was, I don't really cook with cannabis. I cook with CBD, and then I have people talk about the effects with cannabis, or I have them talk about their dishes. But it's a fascinating science. Because CBD, especially, you can only heat to a certain point before it starts to break down. So when you're baking, say, cookies or dog treats, which you were speaking about in the last show, if you get over, I want to say 360 or 365, it starts to break down the cannabidiol in specific, CBD itself.
I did not know that. Did you?
No, I didn't know it.
So cookies are a little softer and more gooey and crumbly, but it's still a fascinating science. It's fun to work with.
And it's in its infancy, really. We're just learning about it. And as we mentioned on the last show, at some point, I'm a gastroenterologist. We will have endocannabinologists.
Absolutely.
As doctors.
Mm-hmm. There's a company here, actually. There are some gentlemen I had on the show that I interviewed, and they have they're doing CBD infused meals for veterans. They're all veterans, and they all have some sort of scars from that, whether they're emotional or physical. And they all noted that either medical cannabis or CBDs were very, very helpful in treating their health issues.
Sure.
And so they started a company. They founded a company here that's what they do. It's Cloud9 Meals. And now they're waiting, as the medical cannabis side will eventually open up in Texas, then they'll work on putting the THC component in there. But for now, they deliver CBD infused meals to veterans.
That is amazing. And now you've said, and you mentioned earlier in the last half hour, that that food is medicine. You can help people feel better. Do you find that getting into being a cannabis chef, that it's simply a stronger extension on your mission to help people eat better and enjoy what they're eating?
Yeah, it is. But here's the thing: chefs are notorious for not leading the lifestyle that they advocate for. Nor do they typically eat the food that they're putting on the plate for the diners. meals in restaurants are very, we talk about family meal in a restaurant. A lot of times there's just not time for family meal. So what we do as chefs is we allow them to have family meal. We're doing the scrambling for the last, it's like we're like the duck's butt underwater while the swan is gracefully going along. That's the controlled chaos you see in the restaurant. The chef is running around in circles like the legs under the water that look like, you can't even see them. They're moving
Can
so
you
fast.
describe what it's like? So I'm a huge fan of all those movies like Chef and Burnt and whatever, 100-Foot Journey and all those things. Like, I love watching those kind of things.
It's molten. I love that movie, by the way. Chef is one of my all-time favorite culinary movies.
Oh, yeah, I love it. So describe to me what the last hour is. And I know, Eric, you've actually worked in the restaurant industry, but I haven't. So, like, what is it like when you're closing down the restaurant? Tell me what time you're going home, all that stuff.
Okay, so I typically worked in restaurants that would close around 10 p.m., 10:30, or sometimes they'll have a bar menu. So you may be there till midnight. All right, so basically the chef runs off the line to start the orders. And as you're doing the orders, you try to gauge whether or not you can shut down the fryer. Are you going to get more guests? Because if not, that saves you 20 minutes later or an hour. Letting it warm down enough to take the oil out, clean it. So while you're doing the orders, then you start directing. Somebody starts swabbing the deck, basically, right? They start scrubbing the floor, but they don't squeegee it yet because you don't want to squeegee until everybody's feet are going to not touch the floor anymore. Then one person starts going in and pulling out everything from inside under the cabinet. So this is like 10:30 if the restaurant closes at say 11. All right. They start pulling all the food out, changing everything, taking stock of how much is left in every pan of every ingredient and flipping, we call them flipping pans. You put it in a new fresh container, a clean one, and all the dirty stuff goes to the dishwasher. Now the dishwasher starts getting grumpy because now his stuff's piling up. So you have to bring either a cup of coffee or a drink. All right, to calm him down and say, hey, wait, we got a lobster we burnt. You can have that too. Take it home for your kids. All right, so because I'll tell you, the dishwasher, no matter what you think, is the most important person in the restaurant. Because without clean dishes, you have no palate to serve on. So take care of your dishwasher.
Definitely.
So then the chef gets the orders done, checks the line, makes sure the food is going out, goes in to call the orders in, and then you start cutting people. You're like, okay, it's really slow. You cut everybody but one person. Now it's 10:30 or 10:35, and maybe 10:45. That one person's like, hey, chef, I'm going to step out and have a smoke. Would you watch the line? So you're like, fine, yeah. So you take your cell phone out, you're calling in orders. All of a sudden, the ticket machine goes, it's the sound of money and frustration, right? It's like, 20 top just walked in, chef. Hey, do you think you might have told me? I cut everybody like 15 minutes ago. Well, I'm sorry. They just walked in. We were still open. I have to serve them. So now you have two people trying to serve a 10 or 20 top, and you're still trying to get the orders in on time. You're trying to clean all the stainless, like everything in the kitchen gets scrubbed from head to toe every night. All the hoods, they get wiped down, they get cleaned. You can't have grease dripping on the food the next day. All the filters from the hoods.
So that part in Burnt where they really do scrub down everything at night, that's daily.
That's daily. Oh. Yeah, and a lot of that gets done between shifts. Like everything from the waist down in the restaurants I operate gets cleaned twice a day. So after lunch and then at the end of the night as well. And I come in the next morning, and if I didn't close the restaurant down, first thing I do is walk the restaurant with a notepad and start looking at all the little things that I notice. I open doors and say, okay, this door didn't get closed all the way. The temperature's too high in here because you have a thermometer in every single door for every undercounter refrigerator. I had to throw out this, and this. Okay, so you either gotta make it up. You owe me an extra shift. You get paid for it, but somebody needs a night off. You get to take their shift. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but you threaten to.
So it's been a long time since I've worked in a restaurant, but from my experience and how I recall it, you've only described about 10% of shutting down the restaurant anyway.
That's not, yeah. Not to mention the drinking that goes on, just so you can kind of shut your brain down enough to be able to function to drive home without running over the nearest diner.
Yeah, so now you're a chef, you're shutting down mentally, but you're doing all this, so you're not eating yet. So I've had friends, and correct me if this is wrong, but they're like, yeah, it's not uncommon to be in a drive-through line at Whataburger on the way home.
Oh, dude, Jack in the Box, $1 tacos, baby. Nothing like a deep fried taco to fill you up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
You just got done doing a Japanese Asian fusion art/chemistry.
At $200 per person for an 8-course meal. Yeah. And I'm going to go through the dollar menu. So for me, a late night. I mean, there is a lot of fast food eaten in the restaurant world, just because you're crunched for time. A lot of times you can't afford the food that you're serving. If you're, the employee meal, the employee menu does not typically offer uni. So, that's what they do. You eat fast, you eat close, you get back to work. For me, I like to eat when I get home. So I used to eat a lot of cereal. We had this discussion. I used to eat a lot of cereal, which I've cut out, by the way, now. But for me, a can of black beans, some diced tomato, some diced red onion, some fresh cilantro leaves, squeeze of lemon or lime juice, some olive oil, fresh garlic, and typically chipotle powder. And then if I was really ambitious, and diced avocado. That was like a meal at the end of the night for me. If I was really ambitious, I'd fry an egg and put it on there, and depending on my mood, I may or not put a bunch of additional hot sauce on there, salt and pepper.
Speaking of mood, so there's a lot of depression in the medical field, and there's a lot of depression in the chef industry. What is it? The chef industry, the food. I don't want to say food industry.
Restaurant industry.
Food and beverage.
Food and beverage. But
that's
the
all.
chefs are very different. It's very different from. I mean, they're a unique breed.
We are we are very stubborn. We're kind of gluttons for punishment in a way, and we subject ourselves to it day in, day out. It's not uncommon to go into a bar. A lot of places have industry night. So on a night that's typically slow in restaurants, like Tuesday night when people can go out or they get off their shift early, then you go to another restaurant, they have an industry night. They offer a discount typically on drinks and appetizers.
The sin night.
Yeah, basically you can pay for it tomorrow morning one way or the other. But chefs will be sitting around and be like, "Oh, how you doing? Oh, you look like crap. What's going on?" "Oh, man, we're in the middle of opening. I just worked like 85 hours this week." Like, 85, man? We've been open for 3 years. I just worked 110. Dude, you guys are babies. I'm like 97 days into no days off, so shut up, But it's these bragging rights, and it's unfortunate because we don't need to subject ourselves to that. We are control freaks, though, because our name's on the menu. And when you get to you cannot get to a certain level without a passion and dedication to serve that is uncommon in people. You can't. Just probably the same in your field. I'm absolutely sure it is.
It's no different because at the end of a shift in a restaurant, I can still remember it kind of becomes a fraternity because you close at 10:30, but no one's leaving there till 11:30 when everything's been cleaned up. And the first thing you're going to do is go and find the other watering hole that's still open until 2, so y'all can hang out because y'all got off to work at the same time. You don't want to go home and shower because you're wearing the clothes that smell like the onions that you're around all day, and you haven't been eating well. You've been dipping croutons in the sour cream as you go through all day long.
How did you know?
Because that's gonna tide you over.
Oh.
That's what's gonna complete your meal until it's time to go and meet your friends out wherever you're gonna go hang out that night. And those guys that are serving you, they're not gonna finish until 3 a.m. and they're gonna go hang out until 4. It's just a vicious cycle.
This sounds so exhausting. And then
It is.
we won't even. This is a whole separate episode. But sleep deprivation and what it does to your body and what it makes your body crave.
And terrible
salty,
food on top of
sugary,
it.
fatty stuff.
Yeah, terrible food on top of all that.
Yeah.
How's that different than a nurse working all day in the hospital?
Yeah. So my 3 big pillars are gut health, brain health, and sleep. If I can get, and that's what our member box is all going to be about. It's going to be about protecting those 3 pillars. You're going to become a better person all around.
I agree.
And the thing is, look at the industries. We make doctors work shifts. I mean, when I did residency, we had no time constraint on hours. I mean, so it became that martyr thing.
It might be 30 hours before you go take a nap.
I had, I've been up for 36 hours straight. I had 22 admits last night. And that's it's exactly that.
Yep.
It's the martyrdom of the
fatigue.
Now I look back on it and I'm just like, stupid. We make pilots that can only fly so much because you don't want them fatigued.
Yeah, the fatigue becomes a badge of honor that's worthless. And then you almost feel bad about saying that you don't want to be here. I'm too tired to work. And then you start thinking, I can't say that.
Next time my uni doesn't taste right, I'm going to go, that's chef. He has not had enough sleep.
It's all time and temperature. Yeah, it is a vicious cycle because once you get deep into it, you're right. You can't backtrack.
No, you can't
or
backtrack.
at least you think you can't.
Well, and you
think
don't want to look weak either. You don't feel like you're pulling your own weight. It's the same thing in the hospital setting too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Eric, we got about 30 seconds. You want to close us out of the bottom of this one?
So the next half hour is going to be great. It's going to be a little bit different. We've got a quiz show that you may not know about.
Woo!
That's right.
I did not know about this either.
Surprise.
You and I are being sprung quiz shows.
We are. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of the similarities between the hospital and the restaurant environment, but they both have their own language, a little bit of jargon between the two. You may think you know them. We're going to find out how well these two guys know it too. We'll see you in a little bit.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-570-6630. 800-570-6630. That's 800-570-6630. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Okay, we are now back for the last segment of episode 3 of Gut Check Project. I'm Eric Rieger here with our first guest, our second guest, Chef Patrick Mosier, and of course your host, Dr. Kenneth Brown.
Yes, and of course we have to give good props here. We have a brand new producer. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this real quick.
Get this out of the way real quick. This is Autron Teal. If you want to pick up your own Autron Teal, developed by your own host here, Dr. Kenneth Brown, go to lovemytummy.com/Spoonie. Use Spoonie for a discount.
lovemytummy.com/Spoonie. We just heard how much poor Chef Patrick has gone through in his life.
Yeah.
Show some love. Use that coupon code so that his effort right now after doing all this gets paid off. And then, of course, go to kbmdhealth.com. CBD with also a lot of information regarding that. All right.
Just order a case for the whole family, please.
Yes, please do this. I mean, after hearing, and we're going to get into some more right now, but the restaurant industry is tough. Lots of lack of sleep, and it is hard.
Hey, shout out to Marie for producing.
So we have a first-time producer today, Marie, because Chef Patrick is actually the producer of our show, so he's sitting on the other side of the booth. And Marie, are we doing okay?
Yes, you're doing great. And I would like to make this my audition to get on the Purple Haze show.
From a consumption or a
both, either way.
Hey, so,
absolutely.
You know, we're actually interviewing somebody right now. You don't think Eric's interrupting too much or anything, do you?
No, I know what that sounds like when he interrupts, and he is not doing it. Good job, Eric.
Thank you, I think.
Backhanded compliment, maybe?
Yeah, either way. Well, of course, Marina, we met in the restaurant. I was.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, we did. I was a bartender, and she was a waitress, and so that's where we hit it off. And it was one of those late nights going to the bar that was open after we were closed.
This is hilarious that we're tying this in with the restaurant industry, and that's how you two met, because me and Lloyda met at a hospital.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Chef Patrick, we are going to make our way through a little bit of the similarities between hospital life and restaurant life here in just a moment. Do we want to get anything else out of the way before we do
Well,
that?
I was going to say, do you have any anecdotal fun stories or anything? Or Marie, can you tee anything up here that you remember of being a funny story?
Well, we had a great relationship with our kitchen staff back and forth. They were cool guys, great relationship. But there was a day where the dish pit guy and Eric were both having a terrible day. And,
Yeah.
Oh, this sounds like a good story.
Yeah, sometime. Well, so you had said we were closing down at 10:30, and Marie, thanks a lot for bringing it up. So we were closing down, and he didn't want to take on some of the plates of a large top that I brought back. And as I set them into the dish pit, he basically just saw the stack and pushed it right back towards me and said, "I ain't doing it." And I was pretty ticked off. So I said, "Yeah, you are." And we met at the back of the kitchen, and we started exchanging blows with our fists, and everybody came over and separated us. But thankfully, because of that fraternal instinct that you have working in a restaurant, we met later that night and basically numbed the pain together away at the local jazz restaurant in Lubbock. So
Yeah, the only thing better than that one I think I saw two brothers have a knife fight in the kitchen one time.
Oh,
Yeah.
we weren't that bad.
Mhm. No. Luckily, there was only one small gash in the shoulder. But me with my needle and thread. Shut up. You're fine. You're fine. Go back to work. You can take a day off tomorrow, no pay, but you got to work today. Sorry.
Do you have any other great restaurant stories that just come to mind?
Oh man, there's so many. There are a couple of bad ones, but we talked about the fatigue factor, right?
Mhm.
I just come up with this bourbon pecan pie recipe,
Sounds delicious.
and I was getting ready to make the first big batch, and I was making 12 pies, and I somehow, in my haze of I don't know, my sleep deprived haze, substituted salt for the sugar.
oh,
And
Oh.
it does two things. The salt doesn't melt like sugar does, so it doesn't give the liquid that you need.
yeah.
And secondly, it just tasted really, really crappy. So yeah, so there we go, 12 pies. And
So I don't think you need that gas chromatograph to show that the molecules are different.
no, I don't know. Not in that case anyway. So yeah, they're number stories, and that happens all the time. Like guys will sabotage you, right? They'll switch your salt and sugar,
Yeah.
or they'll put sugar in your salt. Or
Well, now, wait a minute. Who would do this to you? Like, why?
oh, guys, line cooks do it back and forth.
I will say there was a fun little game that we would play at our Mexican restaurant in Lubbock, and it was actually the original home of Don Pablo's is where we worked. And oftentimes, if you wanted to clown around with somebody who was new working with us, you would say, "Hey, they just need this at table 12," and it would be nothing but a completely raw egg on a bed of lettuce and a small mocha head cake. And they would go out and take it. It's like, "I need to go. You need to take this now." And of course, the table would look at them like, "What the hell are you doing?" And like, I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Oh, you
There's
know
this
what?
kind of stuff.
Those hoaxes are the best. Actually, there's a ton of those in the restaurants. Like getting the stale air out of the walk-in refrigerator, go in there with a trash bag, and like basically gather up the air, and then go outside and let it open, then fill it up and take it back and open that one, then get another bag of stale air and take it out.
Or 100,
oh my gosh!
you could definitely do that. Or whenever you're closing down the back end of the restaurant, you tell the new guy, "Hey, we got to make sure that the teapot doesn't rust. Get all of the hot water out. You have to empty it until it gets cold." It never doesn't turn hot. The whole time it just keeps,
Well, it's not just the restaurant industry. I mean,
It's hardwired in, yeah.
in the medical field also, sometimes like the gastroenterologists, they're funny. They will play little hoaxes. Like when somebody substitutes my lubricating jelly while I'm doing a colonoscopy with apricot facial scrub.
I don't know that
No,
happens.
that did not happen. That's never happened, and that's why I'm looking at you two like,
What is that, Yeah,
No, that doesn't happen. No. We do not play those kind of games in the medical field.
Nah,
It is-
never. We never mess with your food.
No.
You know what? Actually, I have to say though, I've never seen anyone spit in anyone's food. When you send it back,
No.
typically I've always seen people be respectful. They might be pissed off, but I've never seen that happen. I've seen, I may have one time way back in the day dropped a steak on the floor, brushed it off, made sure nobody's looking, ran it under the cold water and threw it back on the grill. But I may have. I don't recall.
You probably shouldn't
clearly.
even have put it back on the grill and allowed those bacteria
I
to
know.
have Crohn's prevention
Sure.
for the person that's going to eat it. Remember, we're too sterile. We need some dirt in our life.
I don't think it was to Midwell where it needed to be. So no nutrition left in that steak anyway.
Ken, I sent you an email in between segments here. I want you to
sent
read
that.
something here because we're gonna do a little bridge building here between restaurant and hospital life here in just a moment. If you don't mind, pull that email
Well, I'm
up
going to
and read
try
it.
and do this. I pulled it up and I'm like, what in the world is this? All right. So it appears to be a paragraph of a bunch of words put together. And this will probably make more sense to you, Chef Patrick.
Just a
All right.
side note, most
Perhaps.
paragraphs are a bunch of words put together. I don't really know where the hell you're going with that.
Touche.
Yeah, a bunch of words put together that are nonsensical.
Okay.
So this is what Eric just sent me, and I'm supposed to read it out loud. First time looking at it. Oh man, we had over 90 covers, 2 12 tops, a bunch of 4 tops, tons of VIPs. By 9, we were really cruising, totally slammed, had already 86 Striper and Tatum. I was running the pass when this huge pickup was happening. We were doing that really soigné risotto with chanterelles a la minute, you know? The pickup time is like 20 minutes. I got this really green cook on saute, fired her a 4x4x3, half a dozen more on order. But when we go to plate, she's short 2 dang orders, so had to order fire 2 more on the fly. She was totally in the weeds. We were so weeded. Food's dying on the pass. The rail was jammed up with dupes. The salamanders stopped working. My porter no-showed. I really thought we might go down.
So how do you think things are going?
I want to know why a salamander's in a restaurant.
It's funny. I talked about that on my show the other day.
Yeah. Nice.
Salamander? Yeah.
So
No.
for you, Chef Patrick, just so you know, I don't want to leave you out. I also have a little bit of jargon here from the hospital. So as you can see here, Ken, there's a lot of words that you didn't know.
A lot of words I
Or
do
at
not
least
use.
how they're applied here. We're going to play a quick little game of who can answer what the hell I'm talking about.
Okay.
So
Because that just described every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in a restaurant since 30-some years ago when I started cooking.
I got a glimpse
40
of
years
this, and this might be something to, whenever we knew we were going to have you on the show, I had a little glimpse I threw out to you. Do you know what 86 in a restaurant means? And you said you kind of heard that might be, something's not around anymore.
Yeah, I think it means stop it, is what
Stop
I thought.
it. Okay.
86 that.
Sold out.
So yeah, basically the soft part of the jargon is sold out. Don't let anybody order it anymore. Or sometimes someone's like 86, that guy, he's the hell out of here. It's
Yeah.
kind of some looser term.
Bounce.
He's gonna get out of there. So
Are you trying to get me to start using these terms with my patients?
I think we should use these terms in terms of anybody and just see how well they handle it.
Yeah, it's like I have Mr. So-and-so, we have some bad news. That CAT scan, the tumor is spreading. You're being 86'd off this planet.
Yeah, or we're gonna 86 that tumor out of there.
We're gonna 86 that tumor. That's it. I like that better. That's more of a. You're gonna be just fine. I'm gonna 86 that tumor.
My head went to a dark place too. My brain is like, oh man, too bad you 86 that insurance policy a couple years ago. We got some bad news, sir.
Well, hey, the first throw to you, since we're talking about bad news, is going to be a hospital jargon term. Then, since we're on the topic, let's go ahead and get there. Celestial discharge.
Oh, Doc is on the roof.
Yeah, sort of. Basically, celestial discharge. That person's not going to make it. They've been
Okay.
discharged.
So you're at a teaching hospital. You go in these big groups of rounds. So we can talk like the opposite side of the chef industry would be the medical school, residency, fellowship. And so the teaching hospitals are kind of funny. And so celestial discharge when somebody passes on.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ken, what would it mean if someone needs to drop or fire?
To drop or fire.
Yeah, I need you to drop X. I need you to fire X. What needs to happen?
I would say that somebody has to start cooking something.
Ooh, nice.
Bing bong.
Like
nice.
I got to drop it in there.
Yes.
Oh, that was
I was
Japanese
thinking-
instead of in Japanese they go bing bong.
Nicely
I don't know
done.
where that came
Oh
from.
yeah, I don't even want to get into that. That's a whole
Yeah,
separate show.
sorry.
But Japanese restaurants versus American restaurants behind the scenes.
In the Japanese restaurant, the yelling typically comes at the end of the shift. In American restaurants,
Is it like
it's just,
gung-ho?
It's constant. I mean, look, and what's funny, we know 5 words.
Those are badges of shame.
It's funny. I was watching that last night.
Gung-ho's great.
So, no, I know like that. I 5 words in a kitchen when you run the kitchen as a chef. 4 of them are all the F word, and the other one is please. It's pretty ugly.
So back to you. Weekend syndrome out of the hospital. Weekend syndrome. Who would have weekend syndrome, and what does it mean?
Weekend syndrome.
Uh-oh, did I stump Ken too?
No. I have an idea.
All right.
Yeah. I'll give you my interpretation. This is a unique one though.
Yeah.
Weekend syndrome.
Uh-huh.
All right. Can I have one question? Does it apply to a person that's employed in the hospital, or is it
good question.
or could it be? Is it the
Usually to the doc. I mean, technically somebody who is employed or contracted by the hospital.
Weekend syndrome. Doesn't come in on Monday. I don't know. Does it?
Tim, what do you think?
I would say if you were to say weekend syndrome, it's when you're covering your partners on the weekend.
Yeah.
And you really just kind of do. You're just putting Band-Aids on stuff to make sure that everybody doesn't die. You're just going to take care of the patients till Monday.
That actually makes sense.
The doc obviously sees that there could be some commitment on a critical decision to be made, but rather have his hands clean by the time Monday comes around. And I've got a little weekend syndrome. I ain't going in there to do that. I think he'll make it till Monday.
Like when you show up and you're covering the partners and you're running a huge service, you just want to make sure do no harm. So the weekend syndrome is because then on Monday morning, especially at the teaching hospitals, on Monday morning when you're like checking out, like, why didn't you order the Panuvial enzymes? And you're just like, because that doesn't exist, and the patient's still alive. Why don't you high five me and let's just get out of here because I'm tired.
Ken, what does it mean when somebody hollers out all day at the restaurant?
All day?
All day.
In a restaurant. So, like, who's hollering? Okay, so I can use your same logic here. Who's yelling to who? Can I?
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
If I'm a sauté cook, chef, I need an all day on risotto.
There's a lot of people ordering it.
Well, it's how many orders in total do I have to prepare to meet the demands of all the tickets that are up there right now?
To put it applicable, you could say we are 2 hours into our procedure. What do we have left? And someone says we have 8 colonoscopies all day. We have 8 left.
Okay,
that's what it means.
How many orders do you need to fulfill the tickets that are on the board?
Right, that's exactly right.
Oh, okay.
That's not just what's due now. That's all day from beginning to end. There could be 400 tickets up there.
So Chef Patrick, you're in a hospital and you're visiting a friend, and you hear someone holler out from the nurse's station, "We've got a code Brown." In 302, and it's not a code Dr. Brown who's sitting across the table from you. We have a code Brown in room 302.
Loose bowel syndrome, maybe? Clean up on aisle 6?
Yeah. It would be a cleanup on aisle 6, similar thing. Yeah. So if somebody has a unfortunate accident, it's going to require a little bit of work. It is a code Brown. There are various codes in the hospital. Do you have other codes that you're going to quiz him on?
Oh, no other codes.
So, code blue is the one that's on all the shows. Code blue, somebody's dying. There's code green where somebody goes crazy and they actually need security to show up. Code pink, baby being stolen.
Baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Big
deal.
Definitely.
They lock that. Lock that. Code pink, in effect, hospital gets locked
I got to come up with a code pink for the radio industry. I got to talk to producer Ron about, hey, Ron, code pink, code pink, code pink.
Yeah, it's all extreme lockdown.
Yeah, so there's all, and then they have like other ones. So anyways, code brown is a tongue-in-cheek where...
Yes, obviously, the obvious color. That was the only reason I got it, because we'd say something like that in the restaurant industry, too.
So back to you. Now, you got to put your clean thinking cap on.
Uh-oh.
What happens if you go into a restaurant and you were to find a bubble dancer?
Bubble dancer.
Yes, a bubble dancer. It's going to make sense whenever we reveal the answer to you.
I feel super ignorant to this.
Who would deal with bubbles? It's a dishwasher.
Oh, a bubble dancer.
Yeah.
The dishwasher didn't show up?
No, that's just what they do. That's kind of a derogatory term for what are you doing back there? Bubble dancing? And you're like, yeah. And then
then they squirt you with a hose as you go by.
Now it makes sense why the guy punched you.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I mean, I love that term.
They spray you in the crotch every time.
So if you were to come onto a shift at a hospital and someone says, hey, you got this patient doing this, you got this patient doing this, and over there in same room 302, you got a crump.
You got a crump? Man, that's a...
It's okay. You don't have to know.
I have no clue on this one. Man, I just
this
went blank.
This particular patient has taken a turn for the worse. That's what a crump is.
I have not ever used that term before.
That's okay. It's not a fun one.
I only used bubble dancer once, and then he came and tried to kiss me, so I left. Never used it again.
Yeah, this is one of those quiz shows where it's funny because you can find a lot of these things, but the reality is that that's when somebody takes a turn for the worst. I take it personally,
Sure.
and I go, what did what am I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? How am I part of this? How do I get this person out of it?
Just so everybody knows, most of these terms I actually found just to validate from a Reader's Digest article. So
Oh, really?
I'm not, I mean, I've heard most of them used in context, but some of them even to I was like, I don't know that we necessarily
Yeah,
talk
I think
that
it's
way.
it's interesting because there is medical jargon, and you'll hear it on all the shows that people are watching, Grey's Anatomy and whatnot like that. But just like you're saying, people typically don't spit on food. The reality is that your doctors are extremely respectful.
Oh, yeah, personally involved.
And personally
Absolutely.
involved, yeah. Ownership of it. Everyone that I work with owns that. So it's mostly any type of medical jargon going on is usually something that's kind of a little bit light and playful.
So, Ken, if you were in a hospital, in a restaurant, and you heard that something was going to be cremated or to kill it, what's happening?
They're serving live octopus that will be clubbed at the table.
I want you to think Chuck Scott style.
We will turn this piece of meat into beef jerky
Yes,
before it's ready
that's
to be served.
I got it.
Chuck Scott is our CEO, and every time we have a steak, he likes it well done. And I cringe because I'm from Omaha. My dad was a butcher. I like my stuff rare. So it's funny because we're on the opposite spectrum. That's funny. Yeah,
My dad liked it blue, like real hot pan, 45 seconds each side, cold in the middle. But so there's a funny story I have about that. I was working in San Diego at this place on Coronado Island called Pio's. It was owned by Charthouse, and we had a guy send his filet back like 3 times. I'm like, so I took the filet, I took a new filet, I seared it on the grill, and I threw it in the deep fryer for about 11 minutes and sent it out. He goes, well, I don't know what you did, but that was like the best steak I've ever had. And I'm like, there you go. I tried to screw it up, and I couldn't even get it right.
So, Chef Patrick,
Yes.
you're hanging out in an ER, and then suddenly you.
I'm getting depressed. I'm spending a lot of time in the hospital.
No. These are just they're small scenarios. We're actually still in the Spoonie Network, but you do hear one nurse talking to another, and they're kind of laughing, saying that one over there has got nothing but straight 100% Fabians. What are they? What's going on with them?
Fabians.
Fabians.
Is that? Yeah. Let's see. Is that somebody who's maybe hypochondriac or?
It's definitely an acronym, and it stands for "Felt Awful, but I'm All Right Now" syndrome.
You by the time you get to the hospital, like I'm okay.
So acronyms get used a lot. And so when I was, and most of the really good stories in medicine take place when you're in training because you have time to think about it, and then you get off shift, and then you go talk about it, and they become a memory.
Yeah.
When you're really working, you're just working. You've got a lot of stuff to do. I don't remember. I think it was sleep it off. So SIF syndrome. And I was in San Antonio, and there was just so many patients. You had patients lined up in the hallways.
Oh.
You had every room full. And I was assigned, like these. I'm an intern. It's my first month of residency, so I'm an intern, and you just get assigned all these rooms. And I remember this distinctly. I'm going to date myself when I say how long ago this was, but it was so many years ago, and it was so distinct where you're just like picking up charts. They're like, here, and the charge nurse goes, here you go, do this one. It's it. And I look up at the board and it says sleep it off, and so it's somebody that's super drunk, just needs to sleep it off. And I go over, and it happens to be a homeless man who had come in, and he was not feeling good. And I wake him up, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and he's got a totally blown pupil on one side, and then vomits
Oh no.
on me immediately. And I was like, this is not a sleep it off. Guy had a brain hemorrhage.
Hemorrhage.
15 minutes later, they were doing a burr hole right
Yeah.
in the hallway, drilling
Oh,
into
wow.
his brain, releasing the pressure. Yeah. So it's, you sit there, look back, you're like, it said sleep it off. That acronym is wrong.
Yeah.
That's why you still have to go look at people and say, and little things like that where you're like, wow, that happened.
No, I have to read the tickets twice in the restaurant. That's just my eyes are getting bad.
Yeah. Well, sleep it off though. That's
it's
probably
good.
happened more often. Honestly.
99% of the time, it's going to be a sleep it off.
Yeah.
It's just,
That one time. It only takes once.
yeah, it only takes once to remind yourself.
Ken, what does it mean to use the low boy? If you're working in the kitchen, what does it mean to use the low boy?
That's when you go to the restroom and the only urinal available is the one that's for the little kids?
Yeah, it's really, really close.
That's actually a funny explanation, though. It's the under counter refrigeration.
Yeah,
Under counter
It's
refrigeration.
in the low
definitely.
boy. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely is. Okay, so who would be the stream team, Patrick, in the hospital?
The stream team.
Uh-huh.
That's got to be, the urologist.
Nice. It's a bunch of urologists. Nice. Nicely done.
I'm really at age. I keep waiting.
That's when you-
I keep waiting. It's still a steady stream. I'm okay. It's still a steady stream. I'm okay.
Yeah. Is there a term for a group of urologists? You know, there's gaggle, there's things like that.
It's so funny. Marie and I were laughing the other day about the ridiculous names that go along with groups of animals.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, there's the congregation of alligators. And Marie, do you remember any of the others that were on there? A gaggle of geese. It's a congress of something, and who cares?
There's a whole bunch of them there that are crazy.
Yeah, no, but there probably is. It's probably a stream of urologists. I
If
don't
you
really know.
yeah, if you look at the definition of all those things you just said, it just says bunch.
A bunch.
Bunch.
More than 3.
Yeah, so there's a porkway of alligators. What's that? It's a bunch. I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous.
That's all any of it means. That's all that any of that means. So, Ken, what does it mean if someone says, "Hey, I need you to go there and wax that table"?
Clean the table is what I would think. Is that they're gone and you just have to pull it down.
Actually, whenever I was at Pablo's, they said they would say "shine the table," but it was the same meaning. But basically, it means you have a VIP or somebody who means a lot to them. You go in and kind of wax the table. It means you get the VIP treatment. 21's going to be a waxing table.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So what would be a VIP in the restaurant industry?
Well, it depends on the restaurant. So,
Food reviewer?
It could be someone who comes in frequently, right, and tends to order high dollar.
Hey, look, and I know
or-
where you're going. I saw Ratatouille. I know what that means.
Absolutely, man. So it's funny. Is Ratatouille is such a great dish. I've tried to think through the way they do it in the movie. There's just no way to do that. There's not, because it can't. None of it can be cooked together. It has to be cooked all separately and then stewed together
Right.
at the end. Oh, it's one of my favorite dishes.
While we're
Pain
talking
in the butt.
while we're talking about food,
Yes.
what does it mean to have a chocolate hostage?
A chocolate hostage?
chocolate
Now, is this
hostage?
wait, whoa.
Hospital.
This can be used in my field also.
Yeah,
You have a chocolate hostage.
This is your field.
Maybe I'm bridging the gap here.
All right, so I'm going to guess that's somebody's constipated.
It's exactly what it means. It means someone's constipated. Someone's being held chocolate hostage. So
Yeah. My mother ran a group assisted living home in Arizona, and never mind. Yeah, there was an impacted
Never
patient one
mind.
time. Let's just say there's an impacted patient one time that
What would you
they needed help with.
What would you describe a chocolate hostage in the restaurant industry?
Dude, you got to watch my station. I got to go. Coffee's kicking in.
Why are you doing that? I'm a chocolate hostage. Chef Patrick's gonna be gone for the next 20 minutes.
I'm running the pass. So just don't order any food because I don't know what to do.
Now, here's a term I didn't know. Do you know what Adam and Eve on a raft is? And I was kind of curious if you know this one either.
This is a restaurant term.
It's a restaurant term.
Adam and Eve on a raft.
Adam and Eve on a raft. And Marina, I didn't know it either whenever we were putting together the list.
For me, I'm going to say it's a two-top, a man and a couple, only ones left in the restaurant late at night.
Oh,
It's actually really cool, but no.
that would make total sense.
Oh, it makes sense, but that's not it.
We can't say Adam and Eve on here. We were going to call this Forky, but it was too racy. We had to go with Spoony, so we got to leave Adam and Eve. Oh wait, Adam and Eve, the Adam and Eve. I was thinking the company. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought he was saying some little spooning leads to forking, but I wasn't really sure.
Yeah, no. I kept telling Doc I want to play Big Spoon, but he was 6'5", so I had to be Little Spoon. Tom's little though.
Adam and Eve for you? Any guess?
oh, in medicine? Or in-
No, it's in a restaurant. Adam and Eve on a raft.
Adam and Eve on a raft.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's 2 eggs on toast. And I was kind of curious if that was something that would be culinary, that maybe that's where that came from. But
Yeah, I mean, it must be. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'm going to look the origin of that one up because I love the etymology of words. So where phrases come from and the history of words. Oh,
wow, it's only a minute and a half left. That went by fast.
That was a fun game. Do you have anything else for me? I want to try and redeem myself after losing the Adam and Eve.
Man, anything for you?
I got an easy one.
All right.
I got an easy one. What does it mean when I say, hey, I need you to butterfly that steak?
You just fillet it in half and then cook it so it's well done?
Because it looks like a butterfly, because it's attached on the top and it has wings. Yeah.
So that was the first thing you said when you said, think about a Chuck Scott ordering a steak. One of my professors would do that, and he was this Russian guy, and it was awesome. Literally, we would go to nice restaurants, and he would say, just cut it, cook it till you think it is well done, and cook it another 30 minutes.
Hey, real quick. So in 10 seconds, do you know what a shoe is? Because a shoe would be somebody who could make that happen.
No, I don't know what a shoe is.
A shoe is known as a really, really bad cook.
Yep. Yep. Not the ringer you were looking for.
Hey, we got only half a minute left in our last half hour. Chef Patrick, thank you so much for coming on
thanks,
the Gut
guys.
Check Project
This is
today and
fun.
everything you've been doing for us. Ken, any
lot
closing
of fun.
words?
No, just show some love. Go to lovemytummy.com/Spoonie. Put in that code. We got to make sure that Chef Patrick doesn't have to go back to working in the restaurant industry again.
Absolutely not. And if you're not watching on Spoonie Radio, be sure and check out Spoonie.com. Get a full lineup. It's filled with great shows. Chef Patrick,
Lot of
thanks so
fun.
much for
Thanks,
coming on.
brother.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
You bet. See y'all next time.